Welcome to yet another Pitfire day. And yes, I'm smiling despite the fact that it is getting colder. It's the fall now and it's not too bad yet here in Denmark. But last week I was in Cyprus, and you've probably seen the video I did from Pitfire Pottery. Otherwise there's a link here somewhere. It was 30 degrees and then I got home to Denmark and it's more like 12, 15. I like 30 better. So I have to get used to this. But as you know, if you watch some of my past videos, I pit fire all year around. Even if it's snowing, you can still do pit fire. It's a little less comfortable in the beginning, but when the heat gets going, it's really nice. And there's no technicality or no technical limits in doing this. You can pit fire even if it's freezing cold and it's snowing. It works okay. So today, as usual, a bunch of new things I'm going to try. I have some new Terra Sigillatas in the white. I have some little jars. I have some bowls. So let's just get on with it. In this video, I'm going to be focused on the white pots that I did with a new type of Terra Sigilata, and the brown clay, the high iron clay stoneware, and the bowls. For the lidded jars, I already gave them the first layer of sulfates. I have a special video about them, also where I'm showing how I throw them, making a lid and all that. So you'll have to see that video separately. But let's start with the white ones, because I did, as you may remember, mix my own Terra Sigilata. And first I was using a very standard recipe with ball clay, but I wanted it to be whiter. So I made a new one where I mixed in some EPK, so it's a kaolin, it's much whiter. It's a small percentage, but part of it. And then in the end I added some titanium to make it even whiter. And I think it turned out really, really nice. It is, I don't know how well you can see it on a video, but it is super white, I would say. And it's very shiny, and it didn't flake off, at least in my basic fire. So that's a very, very good sign. So I'm gonna use that. I have the best possible canvas. On the other hand, we also have these ones. This one is the same as the little jars. It's a very nice high iron stoneware. But it is a little more difficult to get right. I think I'm not going to wrap this. I think I'm just going to put some combustibles around it and put it right into the flames. These ones are the same clay, except I gave it a small layer of Terra Sigilata, so there's still some of the clay shining through, and I kind of like that. With the bowls, I had some problems with my bowls in the past, I would say, because I don't usually break my bowls in the pit fire, but or any of my pots, but the bowls, especially the bowls, I had more breakage than with my other pots. I'm not exactly sure why. I do know that one time I fired them upside down and that went completely wrong. So I want to fire them this way. That's one thing. Another thing could be the kind of clay and the way I was throwing them. This one is super light, even though it's stoneware, but it's super light and it's very well thrown. There's no inconsistencies or cracks or anything. So that one should be good. This one, I'm not sure I will put in this one. These two also had Terra Sigilata, and they are in a stoneware that I have done a lot of pit fires with that are very strong. It's only have 25% grub in it, but it does hold well. And these ones, a little more challenging shapes, but they should work. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to wrap them up and I'm going to put them into each other. I'm not sure if that is wise, but I will do it nevertheless. So let's move these aside. And then look at the combustibles, because I have my usual ones, my favorite ones. The corn husk, corn leaves, that are very good. They usually give really good colors, and the banana peels. Those two I just love. They always produce good results. And then I have some seaweed. And you may recall that I used seaweed in the past. But what I found is that not all seaweed are good. In Denmark, I don't know the names of these different kinds of seaweed, but in Denmark, first I tried this seaweed that had these little bubbles. I thought, that looks great. That's possibly going to be very good. But it wasn't. It mostly turned out black. So then I learned that this kind of seaweed, that are these long kind of threads, is giving much better colors. It can be black, but it can also be purple, sometimes orangey. But this is much better. So I picked some of this and I dried it. And I kind of rinsed it a little bit so there wasn't too much salt or stones or anything in it. So you can do that. I have a few of these cones too. That can be nice. So we're going to use some of that. And that's probably mostly going in the pit. I have some dried out chicken shit from my from my chicken house, which gives nice colors, especially to the ones that are not wrapped into the tin. So let's get on with it and start with some of the bowls here. I hope I have enough tin foil. It's kind of running out, but I do have a backup in the kitchen. It's not as wide, but it should work. So let's start out with some of these pots. I'm definitely going to try some of the seaweed on these ones. I'm just going to spread it out here. It is a little bit windy today. It's a challenge, but it works. Spray out some of that. Put some of it inside it. Add a little bit of my seaweed. I always love that. It's always a great habit. So we'll try and see if we can wrap this up. Add a little bit more of the seaweed. So I will be adding a little bit of the copper carbonate down here, and a little bit of the cobalt sulfate, just a little bit, and as always, just a tiny bit of salt. I don't know if this is too little. I usually add much more stuff. But let's try and see how it turns out with primarily the seaweed. So, that was the first one. So, for the next one, I'm also going to use seaweed. But for that one, I'm also going to add some of the corn. Add a little bit of the banana. Add some salt here. Copper carbonate. And that's about it. Again, I need a little more. When you wrap it up, it's difficult to get it on the top side of it, so it's always a good idea to have like a little bit more that you can add when you wrap it. So that way. And as always, I don't push it in evenly. I kind of, make sure that there's some air holes in there. The air holes help create different atmospheres, and it's increase the differences in the surface. So I usually like that. second pot is ready. I'm gonna use some more of the seaweed because now we're going crazy with the seaweed. But this time I'm also gonna add a little bit of the chicken shit. It is dried completely, and I will wash my hands before I eat. Don't worry. But generally speaking, manures, different kinds of like from cows, chicken, or give some interesting colors, and it all depends on what they eat. But it's just generally very interesting. So we're gonna try that. I'm gonna add some carbonate, some this sulfate, some salt. And for this, I will be adding a bit of the steel wool. Is it? Steel wool is a wonderful material and it's very cheap, and I really love using that. So I'm going to try that, adding a bit more to the top and wrapping it. Should be good. One of the things that can be difficult is to get the inside of the pot black, or black enough, or dark enough. I like it to be dark. So I've been trying different things. This time I'm gonna add a cone. I'm gonna add some newspaper. I used it to protect my glazing, so it's probably full of some, I don't know what. I'm gonna put it in here. I'm gonna add some sawdust, and hopefully this is gonna add some nice smoke to the inside of the pot. I hope so. I haven't been very successful with this, but I do have a video about how you can add this smoked blackness to the inside of the pot after you fired it, in case you don't get the result you're looking for. So again, for this one, I'll do some seaweed, I'm gonna do banana peels, some of that corn, like this. You probably noticed I'm not using any ferric chloride today. It's not because I hate it. I just made so much with ferric chloride that I decided to make a ferric chloride free fire this time. I will get back to it because I do really like it. But today I'm just gonna try different things. Always experiment. Always experiment. So now we're gonna try with the bowls. And I have no idea how it's gonna go, but I'm gonna try it anyway. See if we succeed. It's not my favorite bowl. They're okay, but you know, it's no big deal if they don't turn out so well. But for these ones, I'm just gonna use organic materials because I do wanna treat them with the liquid quartz I have, so I can use them for food. So I don't think it's a good idea to use crazy chemicals when you want to use it for food. So I'm just going to use like steel wool, sawdust, and maybe just a little bit of the chicken manure, and some salt. Yeah. I'm gonna try with this on the first one, not too much. And then I'm going to try something that's maybe a really bad idea, but I'm going to add the second bowl directly into this. And actually, I think I'm going to take this cone out because it's kind of making it difficult. So I'm going to add this right into this. So in between the two layers, I'm going to add some seaweed. Add some steel wool. Then I'm going to put it here, like that. I'm going to add some more seaweed to the inside. A little bit of the steel wool. I have no idea if this is going to be very good or very bad. A little bit of salt, a little bit of the sawdust to create some smoke. I'm going to add a layer here. This could go terribly wrong. Or it could turn out really, really interesting. Who knows? We'll find out tomorrow. So now we have the last one. Same procedure. Some seaweed. Put a sawdust in here. So we get black at the bottom maybe. Who knows? Oh yeah. So steel wool. Get some stripes like that. Some more seaweed. A little bit of the chicken stuff. And now we can add this cone. Some salt. Oh, a little more steel wool. This, a little bit of sawdust, and some seaweed. And I'm going to do the last layer. I really have no idea if this is gonna just completely explode or if it's somehow gonna, well, we'll see tomorrow. So for these two pots, one of them, and you can actually see it here, one of them I gave a lot of the sulfates, some cobalt and some copper sulfate, and this one I didn't. This one I'm not gonna wrap, so I'm going to put it directly into the pit. This one I will wrap. I'm kind of running out of the seaweed, but there's plenty of it in the ocean, so I'll just go and grab some more. If it turns out that it's good. And again, remember that if it turns out too, just pale or uninterested and not much colors, you can always try it again. So it's worth taking risk, because sometimes it turns out really interesting. So that one. And so for this one, I would have taken, I do have, let me see here. I do have some banana peels left, so what I will do is I will take some of the copperware, this one also got, in case I forgot to say, this one also got a lot of the sulfates, so the cobalt and the copper sulfate. So I'm just going to try and attach some of this banana peel. It's always a little bit tricky on a round body like this to actually make it stick, but I think it's okay this time. So this is not much, but it also have all the sulfates, so I think it's actually going to be interesting enough. The same thing for this one. So, and for this one, I'm also going to add some sawdust inside and some newspaper in the hope that it will get darker in there. And for this one, I'm not going to do anything, just going to put it in there. It's probably going to turn out very dark, but it could be really beautiful. So we'll see how that turns out. Then we're down to the last one this time. And I'm sort of running out of organic material. Do have a little bit of sawdust. I do have a few of the banana peels left. There is a little bit of the seaweed. You can use the rest of it. I guess that's gonna have to do. Gonna add some more chemicals and see how that works. And also, I'm going to add some sawdust to the inside. Actually, I'm going to add the rest of it here. And some of this thing. had enough? Tinfoil! Great. It is running out, so I definitely need to buy a new one. That's it. Now I'm ready to pack the kiln. As usual, I'll create layers. So first I'll put a layer of wood to make sure that even when it gets down there, there's still some firewood to create heat. Then I put the first layer of pots, and I don't have that many pots for this fire, so I think maybe I can have one more pot there, but 3 or 4 pots in each layer is usually okay if it's that sort of size. So now I will add more wood, a layer more, probably gonna add 3 layers, and then I will be ready to fire. So now it's filled. I had 3 layers and wood in between, and I will add some small wood pieces, whatever I have, on top, and then I'm ready to fire. But I'm not gonna fire it yet, because as I told you before, I have neighbors. They're very kind, but if I create too much smoke, well, I'm not too happy about it. I understand that. So I moved it to this side of the house where it disturbs the neighbors the least. Also, I'm gonna wait until it's dark, because then they're not gonna be outside playing on the lawn or something. And even if there's a little bit of smoke, it's not gonna disturb my neighbors so much. So I'm trying to be a good neighbor, as good as I can be. But yeah, I try. So I'll be back when it's dark and we will light the fire. Now it is, as you can see, very dark, and I'm ready to light the fire. One very unusual thing about this fire is that, look, it's only a few minutes into the fire, maybe 15 minutes, and already there's fire at the bottom of the barrel, which is actually good, because now we're getting heat all the way through, and I like that. Looks really healthy, doesn't it? The blues and the greens, and it's the salts and the carbonate and the sulfates, and yeah, great flames. It looks good. It's probably toxic, but oh. Good morning. Just having my first cup of coffee and looking forward to see the results of last night's fire. As far as I can judge, the fire went really well. It was effective. It dropped down really quickly, and there was many hours of high heat. And and all the tinfoil dissolved, which does about 700 degrees Celsius. So at least it was that temperature, probably higher. So I'm optimistic as always. So let's go and have a look and see what it's like. You always have to be really careful when you take out your pots, because I mean, they fall down on each other, and hopefully they didn't break when they did that. But then when you move something, it can fall again, and it would be such a tragedy if it all succeeded, and then finally when you take them out, you break them. So be careful when you do that. This one, I think, looks really nice. I mean, look at all these, how these crystals have evolved here. A little bit of cracks here, I think, not cracks, but a little bit, yeah, some red, and I'm not even sure what that red is. Nice blue tone. This is really beautiful. I really like how this turned out. There's another one. It looks like the seaweed. This seaweed is acting really well. It's definitely not just turning out black as it did with the other seaweed that I tried. Some clear blue colors from the sulfate. The red here, a very strong red. I have to look at my notes and see exactly what that is. But I love this deep red. It's really beautiful combination of red and blue here. Once I get polished this, it's gonna be really beautiful. This one is also really interesting. There's a lot of dust on it. We need to get rid of that dust and then of course polish it. But from what I can see here, there's some really good colors. I still need to figure out what that strong red is. It could be the seaweed. I'm not exactly sure. It's sort of surprising in a good way. And then we have some nice deep black contrast, and there's still some super white left. So that's very good. And this is with the high iron stoneware, but with a small layer, a thin layer of Terra Sigilata. So you can see, even with the thin layer of Terra Sigilata compared to the ones like this little jar that didn't have anything, how much of a difference that makes. This is without Terra Sigilata, without a white surface, and this is with a semi-white, because it's not completely covered, but it does make a huge difference. This is an example of a pot that I did not wrap. And again, you can see without the Terra Sigilata, without a white canvas, it's much different. So you see again the difference between the one with the Terra Sigilata and the one without. I mean, it's still cute in a way, but it's definitely more interesting, this one. So. So now comes one of the more interesting experience here, because as I said in the past, I had more breakage with my bowls than with any other type of pot, and of course I don't like that. So I was hoping, first of all, that they didn't break, and the sound is good. There's no cracks here. And then if we look at the colors here, it's actually quite interesting. I mean, I didn't use any chemicals. I didn't use any sulfates, chlorides, or anything. So the colors are more subtle. But I like that the dark bottom we got here. That's really nice. And funny enough, again in this one, like the other ones, there's some red. And now I'm getting more sure that this red must be from the seaweed. because I didn't use anything but seaweed and steel wool. So so yeah, this is interesting. There's not so much color on the outside, but still I kind of like it. And so I think that's a success too. And the second one, let's see. It sort of survived. There is a little bit, I don't know if it is a crack or if it's just, it looks like there might be a little bit of a crack here. And this is a weak point in this pot. So it may not completely be a success, but from a visual point of view, I think it's very successful. And now for the last one, that definitely cracked all the way down here. And again, I have to figure out exactly why it is that my bolts are cracking. It's sort of annoying, and I will work it out. But from a visual point of view, again, I think it looks great. Some yellows and reds, and that's just the seaweed. So this seaweed is very successful, but it does have a crack here. I may be able to do some repair and make it functional, but definitely not a sales piece. So this is an interesting one because this had a white surface and was not wrapped up in tin foil, but just put directly into the flames. And there's a lot of this copper wire. I need to get rid of that. And of course there's a lot of black, which in itself is nice because look at these turkish bluish colors that kind of and some of this is just dust. You see, if we take it off, it's not as black as it just looks at the first view. So whenever I get the dust off, I think this is going to be very beautiful. And then with a high shine wax on top of it, I think it actually turns out really beautiful. Here's the second lidded jar. It looks very similar to the other one. It looks like it survived, which is still a very important element. There's always that risk when you do pit fire. But it survives, it didn't crack, and the lid still fits. The wire holds it in place, which is good. And we got these nice stripes, and we got a little bit of life. But again, the colors from the chlorides or the sulfates, it doesn't show that much. And I guess that's just the problem with this darker clay, that it is difficult to get strong colors. But I think once I polish this, it will still be a beautiful little jar. This one is really interesting because look at that green. I'm not completely sure why. Could be the copper carbonate that I was just lucky. Copper carbonate can be just black, be just dull, but if the right temperature and the right atmosphere is there, it can give these sorts of colors. And then we have again the red. It must be that seaweed. I'm really happy with the seaweed. It's really beautiful. And I mean, I could get this red, sort of that red with ferric chloride, but I like the idea of using seaweed. It's organic. There's no chemicals involved, and I like that. And also, there's a lot more life in it. The ferric chloride tend to be just more flat colored, and then this green. I love that. So very happy with that one. this one, I mean, look at this. Look at how these, it almost looks like it's dripping down. This is the colorants I use, the sulfates. Still have some white areas, which is good, gives some contrast. But look at the blue up here. I really like that. None of the pots, however, have turned out black inside. I'm still trying to figure out a good way. I can still do it black afterwards, but I would still like to do it in the Pitfire. But this, I think, is really good. This is also very nice. That has some yellowish colors, which is surprising because I have no idea. It could be from the banana leaves. It does tend to give that sort of yellow. Again, the red must be the seaweed, maybe the steel wool to some degree. This did turn out really, really nice. This is exactly what we love about Pitfire. When this is polished, it will be gorgeous. And the last one with some copper wire around it, and this one was not wrapped in tin foil either. So this is a good example that you can actually do some really nice things without wrapping it. And this one was actually not applied Terra Sigilata. So you can see it's a dark clay, and still the colors here actually turned out much stronger than they did on some of the other ones that didn't have the white canvas. So it is indeed possible, but it requires the right temperature and fire schedule and stuff, and it's really, really difficult to manage. So I do prefer to have the white surface to work on, but this is just a good example of how well it can actually turn out. I think this is beautiful, and when it's polished and have applied the wax, that's going to be really good. So all in all, I think this was a successful Pitfire. I'm very happy. Most of the pots turned out better than I thought. Some of them as good as I thought, and only a few of them misbehaved, like a couple of the bowls. It's still sort of a mystery to me why these bowls are cracking. I'll keep experimenting. I will find a way. It could be a matter of the clay I'm using for the bowls that are not good for that. Maybe they need to be a little more thick. I made them very thin, these bowls, and I don't know if that contributes to it. It could be the placement in the kiln. There's so many factors. I'll just have to experiment. One day I will get it perfect with the bowls too, I'm sure. And they're so beautiful when you pitfire them. So I'm looking forward to finding out how. If you have some good tips on that, if you pitfired bowls before, maybe if you would share those tips. Anyway, if you like this video, please share, subscribe, write a comment if you have anything to contribute or any questions. And I hope to see you soon again. Have a great day.